So, welcome to the Gentleman Badass podcast. My name is Josh Kidney. With me, as always, Mick Doyle. And today we have a special guest, Chris Brammer. Chris is a former Army sniper and current general manager and senior instructor at 88 Tactical. Chris, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, kind of what we do with our guests is we want to get a little idea of what your early life was like, your background. So, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what you were like as a kid, maybe school stories, anything like that. Just give us an idea of who you were back then.
All right. So, yeah, I grew up in Omaha, basically, kind of down in the hood area. And I guess not too much interesting about my childhood other than I was actually raised a Jehovah's Witness. So
I would have never have guessed that one.
This is new information to you too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Go figure, right? So my family was pretty strict into the whole church thing. No birthdays, no holiday celebrations. Nothing against violence or guns. You couldn't play with them and stuff like that. So yeah, that's an interesting place to start.
Interesting. So a Jehovah's Witness, super conservative family. Now, I seem to remember a story that you told me about getting in a fight with a kid on the school bus, a kid chasing you down from one bus stop to the next. Is that
Yeah.
you want to share that? I thought that was kind of fun.
Sure. Yeah. So even though I was being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, I still I had quite a big mouth on me and was probably about the smallest kid in the class. So, riding the school bus, in like fourth grade, I started making fun of this other kid there. He was an African-American kid with, big black afro hair. And so I kind of started off with, giving him a nickname of Shernapo. Which the kid was bigger than me. He was a year older than me. Obviously, I'm an idiot, but I love to run my mouth. So anyway, yeah, the whole thing, he says, "Hey, I'm gonna kick your ass," and I said, "Oh, all right, yeah, sure," knowing that he gets off at a different bus stop, and he ain't gonna be able to get me before I get in my front door. Well, so we're heading home. He asked the bus driver, "Hey, can you drop me off at Chris's bus stop?" And he goes, "No, I can't do that." And so he drops this kid off about 3 blocks away, and man, this kid just sprints his freaking heart out. So when the bus pulls up to my stop, I go to get off. Man, this kid's waiting for me right then and there. He was
determined.
He sure as hell was. So I get off the bus and I got to face the music, and this kid was a karate, took some karate or something. So immediately he starts off and he like side kicks me in the gut and kind of doubles me over. And then he grabs me and he Captain Kirk throws me. So I knew this throw because my dad was a huge freaking Star Trek fan, So I knew the Captain Kirk throw, and I thought I was dead after that. Yeah, so he rolls back, kicks me over his head, and I hit the ground, and I am just, wind is knocked out of me, and I'm literally staring death in the face. And so I get up and he comes straight towards me, and the only thing I could think about is just kicking him as hard as I could in the balls. And so I did, just launched him right off the ground. He doubles over and falls down, and about the same time, the bus driver was worried because I was going to get my ass kicked, and so he doubled around the block, and so right as they're turning the corner to kind of come check on me, they just see this kid doubled over on the ground, and me standing over him, nobody knew the difference, and luckily the next day, me and that kid decided I'd shut my damn mouth, and he decided he wouldn't talk about it either. So
that's crazy. That's a lesson for everybody out there. It doesn't matter what martial arts you know. A good kick in the balls will end a fight fast.
Yep.
So from there, kind of a kid that got into a little bit of trouble here and there. How'd you end up finding your way into Mick Doyle's gym and starting to train and fight?
Well, pretty much followed the same path. Like I said, when growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, we were discouraged about violence. I remember talking to my dad about it, saying, well, hey, what if somebody wants to punch me or somebody wants to beat me up? He said, well, you just run away. I go, well, I'm not a fast runner, Dad. So, and he's like, well, you keep running. That was his only solution to it. So, man, I can almost remember it clear as day. I think I was about 14 or so, and I just had this epiphany that everything that happens in life, whether it's political or on a personal level, social level, if there's a problem that can't be solved, it always resorts back to violence as the final answer for solving it. So I thought to myself, well, I better get good at violence. So about 16 years old, at this point, my mom and dad divorced, so kind of religious restrictions kind of loosened up, and I ended up, my dad ended up at 16, kind of just saying, hey, I figure you're gonna listen to whatever I've had to say by now, so you're kind of on your own. I still lived at home with them, but I didn't really have a curfew, so it was time for me to go out into the world and run my mouth and
accept the consequences. So it took me about 2 years to figure, man, I better learn how to fight, because I'm about $140 soaking wet. So that's where I found Mick.
And Mick, do you remember when Chris first walked into the gym, or any early memories of him?
Yeah, probably the running the mouth thing. Like, for a little guy, he wasn't afraid of talking a bigger game than he actually had. But he wasn't afraid to kind of get stuck in a mix right away. Which, as a coach, there's always some defining factors where you think, all right, this kid may have some potential. Usually it's toughness, and sometimes it's dumb toughness in the beginning. Like, they just don't know. Like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't spar with that guy. You shouldn't pair up with that guy. But when you see somebody in the gym that's just doesn't care and just is completely immersed, a lot of times those ones you kind of keep an eye on, because they, it's that coal can get polished into a diamond fairly easily.
So from there, how long, if you remember roughly, how long did it take you to actually start fighting? Because from what I understand, you ended up doing some, at least amateur Muay Thai fights, maybe some pro as well.
Yeah, let's see. I remember I was going to class. I want to say about 3 or 4 months. And then,
was this in the Benson gym or the Maple Street gym?
Maple Street gym.
Okay.
So you guys were in the Maple Street gym, and I was going there about, I want to say it was about 3 months, 4 months or something like that. And then I remember I approached Mick and said, hey, can I start training with your team? And he kind of looked at me and said, well, okay, show up Sunday and we'll see how you do. Well, as luck has it, Sunday was their hard sparring day before you guys had war on the shore too, U.S. versus Canada. So you got all these guys that are getting tuned up for their fights, and this is their last hard sparring session at the time. And so Mick throws my 140-pound ass in there with a kid named Junior.
Oh, yeah.
Bruland. Yeah. He's about, 5'10", 240.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big kid.
Yeah.
And he was a Mormon.
Yeah, he was a Jehovah's Witness versus Mormon. All right.
See that on the next UFC bill.
Oh, yeah. So, all I remember from that is getting thrown into the ropes, and as I came off, Junior kind of stepped to the side and folded me over his massive, frickin' thick shin, and it's kind of like one of those movies where they pick the scrawny kid up and they're like, oh, he's out of breath, and they're like, oh, hold on, we'll call your mom. They kind of lifted me up out of the ring, and I was trying to catch my breath. It set me over on the side and said, just get your breath there and sit there and watch. And so So I did, and then the next step, after a few guys sparred, then Mick threw me in there with Mark Buback.
Oh yeah.
And so, Mark's a tall, lean guy, and I remember my goal, my simple goal was to not get knocked down. I was like, I don't care if I land a punch on him. I don't care if I win, lose. It's my goal isn't to win. My goal is to not hit the ground, And so, luckily, I guess Mick said, "Okay, you can come back, get your ass kicked the next week if you want." So,
Come back. We do this every Sunday. It's fun.
Needed meat for the grinder.
right.
So from there, you went on, fought some Muay Thai fights, and then eventually went to the Army. What spurred that decision?
I was fighting, and I was having a pretty good win streak. I enjoyed it quite a bit. To be honest with you, I kind of got bored, and I just didn't feel. I knew if I wanted to go to the next level, if I wanted to become this, world champion, if I want to become, the guy, the top 5 in the world or something like that, you have to have that fire. And I think so frequently now when you watch UFC and stuff like that, you see guys sitting on the top, and you really see that fire kind of die out, and then that's when they start to get beat. And for me, I didn't feel that fire anymore. I didn't feel that. Man, I know I'm going to get my ass kicked this Sunday, but I'm ready. Bring it on, because I'm going to come out an hour, 2 hours later. I'm going to come out harder, tougher, better. And I just didn't feel that fire anymore to compete in the ring. So I was looking for the next best thrill, the next thing. And I've always, ever since I was young, I kind of always, been pulled towards martial arts, and I knew, firearms and gunfights and stuff like that was part of it. Weapons was part of martial arts, and so it looked like things were coming up for another Iraq War II. And I remember, as a kid, seeing the first Gulf War on CNN, and how cool I thought it was, and all the video footage, and wow. And so, it just kind of seemed like the next step.
And how old were you at this point?
24.
24. Okay. So maybe a little bit later than most people would join, I guess. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Is that normal?
Yeah, when going into the Army at 24, getting out of boot camp and stuff, I mean, there's a few older guys than me, but yeah, going to my unit, everybody kind of called me the old man at 24.
Wow.
So
Okay.
most of them are joining at 18, 19,
Okay. So you joined up with the Army. Was becoming a sniper at the forefront of your mind when you joined up? Was that something you fell into? How did that happen?
I joined. So I went in the Army as an 11 Bravo, as a grunt, basically an infantryman. And a sniper position is, it's a designator. It's not a. In the Army, it's not a. What I want to say, it's not a specific position. It's a training added on there, and then there are sniper positions that you can go into, but there's very few of them. So for a regular company size, it's around 250 men. There's only 2 snipers allotted. For a battalion size, you're talking 500-600 people in there, and then you're only talking about about 9 slots opened up for snipers at any one time. So it's a really small. It's a really small opening to kind of get into one of those spots, and once you're in that spot, then you have to go through sniper school. The attrition rate in sniper school is pretty good. So not only do you have to kind of know the right people and perform at the highest, because as you can imagine, with 600 people fighting for 9 slots, they're only going to take the top ones.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, fighting at mix is pretty much what set me aside from everybody else. My physical PT was a lot better than most. One of the snipers on there was a big grappler. He was really into grappling at the time, and we're talking early 2000s, so not many people kind of knew about jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. As I was in basic training, I remember during the combatives part, the first day that we did combatives, the drill sergeant has us throw all of our mattresses in the middle of the floor, and so he's like, all right, who thinks they can kick my ass? It's straight out of the movies, right? Yeah. And dude is about 25, 26, about 180, ripped, and so kid goes out there, chokes him out. Another kid goes out there, he chokes him out. So I'm like, okay. So I'm kind of watching, and I'm like, oh, that's all right. I'll just wait for this fucker to get tired. So about 4 or 5 kids into it, after he rolls him up and smokes him after about a minute or two, then nobody else was volunteering. So I raised my hand. I said, all right, I'll do it. He's like, all right. So hop out there. He's like, you want to make it interesting. So he's like, well, you can get in any position you want. It's like, okay. Well, can you sit down, and can I like grab you from behind? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So I basically just put a rear naked on him, and he's like, is that what you want to do? And I go, yeah. He's like, all right. So I just, synced it in and choked him out in like 20, 30 seconds. And he kind of gets up and he looks at me and he goes, let's do it again. So then we started from the beginning. We rolled for about 40 minutes straight. And, to me, it was just another day at the gym.
Yeah.
And
I'll bet he never picked anyone out like that again.
Yeah.
Okay, new rules.
Yeah.
So he ends up, afterwards, we go to lunch and stuff, and they take us to the chow hall, and you're looking straight ahead at you, sidestep into the next pile of slop they throw on your plate, and you're thankful for every piece you get. Well, anyway, so I get done at the end of the line, and he's standing there, and he's like, Brammer, you want ice cream? I'm like, no. I'm like, I know, you're testing me. And he's like, no, I'm serious. You want ice cream? He's like, you pick out any ice cream you want out of there. And I'm like, okay. So I grab some ice cream, and the kid next to me goes, I want ice cream, drill sergeant. He goes, when you can roll 40 minutes with me, he goes, then you can come talk to me. But until then, shut the fuck up.
That's awesome.
So it was really cool, because after that, they, this guy was, he was like a level 5, which is the top level combatant. I don't know what the Army combatives do now, but, at that time, level 5 combatives was like the top training for combatives in the Army. And so he pulled me into the office after that, later on that day, and they kind of said, who the hell are you?
Yeah. Where'd you learn that shit?
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of, it was kind of nice. It wasn't drill sergeant and private. It was 3-4 dudes just sitting around shooting the shit. And so they actually got me a spot after I got out of basic training to go into the Army combatives unit and start training combatives. And I turned them down. And I respectfully said, hey, look, guys, I really appreciate it, but I don't want to train anybody in combatives. It's not that I don't want to do hand-to-hand anymore. It's just I want to learn something new. So, that's when they respected that. I moved on, went to my unit, and, then when I got to my unit, that's when I kind of met up with, one of the snipers who liked grappling, and we hit it off pretty good. And then he kind of worked his magic to get me into the next opening. So.
And you were in the military as the military was kind of evolving and going through a bunch of changes. Like weren't you part of the first Stryker battalion when they first introduced the Stryker vehicle into combat or something like that. What was you were on something? Was it a Stryker?
Yeah. So the unit, it was funny because getting out of basic training, they give you your assignments. You don't get to pick where you get stationed at. So, my paperwork comes down and I get assigned to Fort Lewis, Washington. And that's a new Stryker brigade. So the Stryker is a 8-wheeled armored vehicle. Top speeds, 70 miles an hour, and, so on and so forth. And anyway, it's just designed to, especially with this new style of warfare, with urban warfare going in Iraq, you have to be able to move quickly from city to city or from block to block, so on and so forth. When you're humping around a lot of gear, around a lot of body armor, that's a lot to ask somebody to move 4 or 5 miles, with any type of speed and still be effective, so these vehicles really came into play. Well, I'm getting out of basic training and they're like, hey, you're assigned to Fort Lewis, Washington, and good luck, you'll never see combat. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, they haven't deployed since Vietnam, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. So I leave, basic training, and on my way, I had 10 days of leave, and on my way to my unit, I look up in the Omaha World Herald front page, Fort Lewis Brigade leaving for Iraq in 2 months, and I'm like, well, all right, there goes that. So I guess I'm heading to Iraq. But so I got in then in that brigade. So we were the first ones to take the Strykers into combat theater, which is pretty nice because obviously they want, they're going to showcase this thing, so they want to give you the best equipment, the best training, and everything else, and deck you guys out. So that was definitely a plus.
Okay. So you get over to Iraq, and you're a sniper at this point? You're one of those, you said one of the 9 at this point, or is that later?
Nope, that comes later.
Later, okay.
Yeah, you got to earn that spot.
So you got the sniper training, but not the sniper...
No, not the sniper training
not
yet.
Even, okay, not yet.
So we get over to Iraq, and I'm still private E2 at this point. E2 is your second up pay grade. So I'm about $10 a paycheck above bottom of the barrel. And so anyway, once we get over there, my assignment was in an infantry squad. I had a M4 with a 203 grenade launcher underneath it. So with our infantry squad, we did a lot of, we kind of started off in southern Iraq and did operations down there. We're pretty, eager, hungry, really hitting, kind of door-to-door stuff. And as we go farther into the deployment, then the snipers start kind of utilizing me, getting more and more kind of in their good graces and stuff like that. But for the most part, I was a door kicker over there in 2003, and then I got to spend a little bit of time on the gun here and there. So
okay. So then, quite a bit of combat. So how many tours did you do altogether? I know there was, I don't remember exactly.
Well, so I did a tour with the Army, 2003, 2004, with the active duty Army. That was by far the most liveliest tour that I had done. In 2004, things really started popping off pretty good for us. And like I said, the nice part that we're, the good and the bad side of it, since I was in a Stryker unit, was the speed that we can get from one city to another. So they ended up kind of creating like a task force. They're called a quick reaction force. So they kind of took the 4 top Stryker companies that we had, the best performing one, and they made this quick reaction force. So if let's see, Al Sauter back in 2004, he was in Sauter City, and he was, had his militia. He was causing a bunch of riots. So we're up in Missoula, so we shoot, halfway across the country in about 2 days and go deal with him. And then, a week later, you might be running out of Baghdad. And then a week later, you're running up in Mosul. It's just wherever they had these hot spots going on. You kind of went over there and hit it hard, hit it fast, and shut them up as quick as you could.
Okay.
So, as far as tours, that was, like I said, that was 2003, 2004. Then 2010, 2011, I got out of active duty Army and went into the National Guard in 2006. But I was still full-time active with the National Guard pretty much the entire time. And I went to a LRS unit, a long-range reconnaissance unit. So we did a tour over in Afghanistan, 2010, 2011. Got back from that, and then I started contracting with the State Department, basically from 2012 to 2014.
Okay. And then contracting, was that like security? Was that?
Right. Yeah, that was for the State Department, basically. As long as you had the prerequisites, you could check the box on everything, which was, you were a military sniper. You spent at least 3 years in the position of being a sniper. You had the proper training. Then you can be a what they call on the political side a DDM, a designated defense marksman,
okay,
which is pretty much a sniper. You're just not in an active hunting role. You're more in a defensive role.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd go. I mainly worked in southern Iraq and just kind of overwatched diplomats when they went out into Iraq to kind of do their thing. So.
Okay. So whenever it was that you were in Iraq, where you were actually a sniper, what was that like for you? I guess I don't know if there's any stories you want to share or just about the experience, because I'm just interested to see kind of what that was like.
The biggest thing that I loved about being a sniper, I joined the Army and the infantry to fight, but I had no preconceptions that I would ever become a sniper. Especially once I found out what all you had to go through and what all you had to do to become a sniper, I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm good enough to do any of that stuff. And then just one thing falls in place, one thing after another, and the next thing I know, I'm in sniper school, and the next thing I know, I'm freaking kicking ass at the top of the class, and just, all right, well, it looks like I'm going to pass, and the biggest thing that drove me there, though, was just it was probably the biggest thing that kept me out of the Army until I was 24 as well. I don't like people telling me what to do. So I don't like as a kid, I don't like people telling me what to do. I remember watching Saving Private Ryan, stuff like that, and seeing, oh my God, this is horrible. I don't want some jackass who's 22 years old who's in command of me and tells me to go freaking kick this door open and get shot in the face. So that kept me away from looking at the Army for quite a while until like we talked about, I hit 24, and that was kind of the option.
So did you feel as a sniper that you had some kind of freedom to make your own decisions and kind of be above the shit looking down? And
absolutely right. So I could see these guys as the snipers, they're kind of off doing their own thing. I mean, we're in a squad here, and you're going, if your squad leader tells you go left, you go left. If he tells you go right, you go right. And obviously good reason for it. But then there's these guys who, kind of get to go off on their own thing and, get to hunt people, and far more appealing than than just being told turn left, turn right, go straight, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's just getting to think on your own and actually problem solve and address situations and find the solution and execute, without somebody holding your hand the entire time is the biggest appeal of anything.
So for people listening to the podcast who are not familiar with the way the military works, typically on a mission it's you and a spotter.
Right. Yeah. Now currently it kind of changed. But yes, typically it's you and a spotter in an urban environment. We've learned some valuable lessons. I kind of won't go into them, but they've changed up that role as well. But yes, you and a spotter. So really, the guy who's on the gun just has to be the dummy who executes the fundamentals correctly, and the spotter is the guy who does all the thinking and calculating, and he's the eyes for the team. So.
Okay. So then, changing subjects just a little bit, we've talked a little bit about PTSD in the past, and you'd mentioned, I don't know if it was the first time you came back from Iraq or what, but just kind of wondering when you first started maybe realizing that you were suffering from PTSD and what that looked like.
Yeah. Actually, it was about 10 months into that Iraq tour. I remember my first sergeant, he kind of just casually asked me, he goes, "Hey, Brammer," he goes, "You think you changed?" I looked at him, I said, "No, first sergeant." He goes, "You've changed." He goes, "We've all changed." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just thinking he's kind of an older guy. Okay, whatever." I didn't think much about it. It wasn't until years later I realized, what he was talking about. And actually the wisdom in his words as well. And then as far as symptoms or anything like that of PTSD, not at all. I didn't see any symptoms, any issues whatsoever until about 2009. The first kind of odd thing that happened was I was flew down to Georgia to go through Ranger School, and so I was in pre-Ranger, just got there, and sign you a bunk, and first thing in the morning, just basically kind of starts off your hell week, and they start whatever, beating you up physically and stuff like that. Well, I remember laying in the bunk. You got about 100 dudes around you, and it's later at night, and I hear some guys talking about shooting people in the face and this and this and that. Never bothers me or anything like that, but man, for some reason this time, just I don't know. I just heard that talking about shooting somebody in the face, and it wasn't that I really dwelled on it, but just something odd happened. I started to get kind of really jittery, and almost going into convulsions for some reason. Couldn't even explain why. I remember I went and talked to the instructors, and they kind of looking at me like, "Dude, you're jacked up. Like, you got some issues." So they ended up sending me back to the unit and said, "Hey, this guy might need some help." I didn't really think about it after that. I was like, I'm fine. I was, if anything, I was more embarrassed by it. Really embarrassed by it. Really, to be honest with you, it's like, man, I've never really failed anything. How could I not even fail, but much less even start it? So that was kind of one of those things I just shrugged off. I was like, man, I don't know what it is. It's I was just being a pussy.
Were you able to finish Ranger School?
No, never. No, I didn't get a chance to go back after that. So, after that, I ended up a few months later. They said, well, do you feel fine? Do you need to talk to anybody? I'm like, no, I think I talked to one VA psychologist or something, but really nothing.
So at this point, you
Came
just
out
think
of
it's just an isolated.
Right.
That was weird.
Yeah, exactly. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, what the hell? I don't know what my problem was. So yeah, a few months later, I go back down. I go through, jump school and, pass that, no problem, no issues. 'Cause I thought, maybe it was just like a training anxiety type thing or something. I don't know. Go through aerosol school, pass that, no problem. Freaking breeze. But then we're doing train up for the Lurch unit. We're doing a train up out in NTC, California. So NTC is a national training center, and it's pretty much a freaking desert out there and hot as hell. And I'm running one of my teams out there, and I remember it was 105 degrees that day, and the Humvees that we had no AC in them, and you had to keep the windows up because you're running around with simulation, So at any point in time, you could get ambushed, and they didn't want a stray simulation round going through the window, taking someone's eye out, blah blah blah. Well, so we go out and we do this mock-up mission, about 4 hours of running through rocks, and chasing these guys down in body armor. We finally, get them, accomplish the mission. We're all drenched in sweat, but we're all drinking just pounding water, we head back kind of to the tents, and I remember before I walked in the tents, I couldn't even walk in the tents, and I grabbed my old sniper buddy, and I said, "Hey, man, something's going on. I'm fucked up." He's like, "What's the matter?" Like, I don't know. And then once again, it kind of goes back into those shakes and convulsions and stuff. And he's like, "Well, you just need to get some food in you." He's like, let's just get some food in you. So we tried that. No, just start getting worse. And so they end up taking me to the med tent, and they think it's heat stroke or dehydration or something like that. And they check me all out, and and I'm in full convulsions at this point, and I can hear everything they're saying, but I can't even talk back to them. I can't even speak and tell them, no, that's not what's going on. It's just I don't know what the hell's going on here. So after about 3 or 4 hours, man, that was a hell of a workout, I'll tell you that. My abs were sore. But, after about 3 or 4 hours of that, everything just kind of died and gone away. And then, I think at that point I realized there's something weird going, now I'm starting to see a pattern. I'm starting to see something, odd going on. And then throughout the years, just I'd wake up randomly at night, not having flashbacks or anything like that, but just start feeling weird, and then start going into convulsions, and end up thinking that your heart's skipping a beat and you're having a heart attack or something like that. And I go to the ER, and they kind of check you out, and everything's normal. So that kind of leads up to about 2016. I finally went to the VA and started having them check into everything, and that's when they kind of diagnosed me with PTSD.
And Mick, I think you were telling, when we were talking about this before, you mentioned that when you saw him, you went and picked him up at the airport at one point, you started kind of noticing things.
Yeah, well, so Chris remembers this. So we have a mutual buddy, Colonel, and there'd been an incident on a base, I believe, in Washington, in a bar. And Kevin was like, "Hey, man, I don't think Chris is doing good." And then you were coming home or something, and I don't know if I picked him up from the airport, but whatever, he was in my car. I don't know where we were heading to. It might have been actually, was your dad living in Fremont at the time or something like that?
No,
or Blair?
He's still in Omaha. Might have been in Blair, but I thought he was still in Omaha.
Yeah, so we're driving, and we come around the bend on the interstate by that 42nd Street exit, and there's a overpass. And we're driving, and I'm talking, and as we're approaching the overpass, I see him just kind of like crouching down in the seat, and I was like, the fuck is that, you know? And then we hit another one over, I think it's like on F Street or something like that, there's another bridge, and he does the same thing again, and I don't know if I said anything to you or not, or maybe it was new when I said to him, I was like, yeah, man, I was like driving, and like Brammer just like squats down as we go over the bridge, and Kevin's like, well, yeah, they get ambushed all the time when they go on the bridges. And I was like, fuck me. Like, you know, like you just, obviously as a civilian, like, I'll never know that world.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, obviously you were pretty agitated about everything that was going on up there. And we don't need to get into that, but,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I guess that was kind of one of the times, you know, that I was like, man, that's never seen that. And, you know, I mean, he's one of the hardest fuckers in the gym, you know, back then. And so you just, you know, as of course, over the years, and we learn more and more about PTSD, you know, just because you're tough and you're, you know, you're an alpha male, like you're not immune from being exposed to horrible shit, and then the horrible shit kind of fucking your body up, fucking your mind up, with, you know, you not having a lot of control or a lot of say in it. So, you know, and then, so Chris was probably the first guy that I've known that I saw go into the that I knew before the military, go into the military, and then we still had a relationship after the military. So for me, I was like, yeah, something's not right there. Like, you know, and you know, you hear people all the time, well, you know, war changes you, and you know, and I mean, I used to joke, I was like, he was kind of crazy going in. Like, he's the kind of guy that you want as your battle buddy, like, you know, and you know, you would see people and you're like, yeah, I can see how that could affect that guy, but you know, I always felt like he was kind of bulletproof when it came to that kind of stuff. But you realize, you know, it affects everybody differently.
So Chris, then, what did treatment like, or what did treatment look like, or what does it look like for you anyway? Is it kind of specific to the individual? Is there a protocol?
Brother, I'm still trying to figure that out. You know, I don't know. Honestly, at this point in time, you know, the treatment that I have taken, you know, since I went to the VA and done everything is, you know, talk to a psychologist, probably about 3-4 sessions, and you know, it's nice. But it's nothing that I need to get off my chest. I have no problem, you know, talking to any, you know, if anybody, hey, you know, this is what a 308 looks like when it frickin' blasts you between the eyes at 100 yards, you know. You know, I don't have any problems talking about events, you know, to the closest of my memory as I recall. You know, as I go farther and farther into the firearms training community, you realize that, you know, there's a lot of things that you forget, and your mind just automatically kind of pieces it together for you, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, I've talked to the psychologist a few times, and he's like, well, honestly, he goes, you don't really need to talk to me. I mean, you're pretty good with all your, you know, you're at peace with what you've done. Yeah, I've killed some bad dudes. I've killed some dudes, and I don't know if they were bad dudes or not, but they were on the wrong freaking side at the wrong time. You know, I remember the first guy that I shot, that night, laying in a cot, thinking to myself, that fucker has a wife and kid just like I do, you know. I'm the asshole in his country. You know, he's doing what he thinks is right, and I'm doing what I think, you know, is right. And how do you come to terms with that? And then, hours later, just laying there, just fuck it, just I do my thing, you do yours. If you're an asshole to me, I'll shoot you in the face, or vice versa. It's fair game. But once I started kind of seeking all that treatment stuff, then he's like, there's not much I can do. You're pretty solid on. You're okay with things. So the physical side of it, kind of going into convulsions and stuff like that. The way I kind of deal with it now is when I feel, sometimes when I feel it coming on, it's usually at night, and I'll go lay in bed, and I kind of, it's just like anything else you do that sucks and it's tough. You just fucking one foot in front of the other, 1 second at a time. Keep yourself calm, breathe, understand you're not dying, you're not, you're going to be fine, and try not to let your mind wander too far. If it gets too far past that, then I got some sleeping pills, so I'll take those. But
so do you feel, like recently, you've the gym and training, the physical training and stuff has become kind of a huge part of your life again. For any other veterans out there, do you feel there's a value in that too?
Absolutely. In fact, I beginning of 2018, I came back and started training with you guys. 2017, I want to say I went to the ER probably 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months in 2017. Once again, just, I don't know if you want to call it, to me, panic attack sounds like a big pussy, but whatever you want to call it, it's
some kind of anxiety.
Yeah, some type of deal is going on where I honestly, legitimately think my freaking heart is about to either explode or stop, or I am going to stop breathing. And I just think about, I don't want my kids to find me dead laying here in bed and this and this and that. So 2017, I went to the ER, several times in that last 6 months. I started training, kind of going back up training with you guys, 2018. A few months after that, I went to the ER once after that, and since then I haven't really even come close to needing to go to the ER again. I think it's a lot of it's physical fitness helps quite a bit. Maybe the reason why it came on so strong was the fact that I got out of the military, I got out of contracting, and I wasn't, running 2-3 miles every other day or doing push-ups, sit-ups, and your physical body, starts getting weaker and stuff like that. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe just centering myself back again, getting kind of back to the roots again. A lot of that has to come something into play there, because 2018's been a hell of a lot better than 2017.
Yeah, well, I think when you, obviously I'm a fanatic at this point, but when you train your body and you physically push yourself, I do feel that it just kind of hardens you to be able to deal with just a lot of the shit that life brings. And I think especially when you do, any type of physical training is great, but like if you're running, for instance, you could be thinking about a lot of heavy shit while you run. But if you're doing jiu-jitsu and there's a guy trying to strangle you, you're not thinking about, I gotta fucking go home and fold 4 loads of laundry, and I gotta get this deadline done, and my checkbook has $50. You're not fucking thinking about any of that. You're thinking, this guy's about to choke me. And and I do feel that there's a value that combat training, martial arts training gives you that maybe other fitness training just misses a little bit. So, I mean, kudos to you if you can run and you can CrossFit or whatever it is that you do to keep your body right. But I do think that something like Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai, that where you have to concentrate, you have to think, and you just kind of divorce yourself from all the shit that's out there, and you take whatever it is, an hour or two back, that's really all about you, is so valuable.
And yeah, I'm certainly no expert on the subject, but I have read a couple things. In the book that we're going to outline today for our book of the week is Tribe by Sebastian Junger. And one of the things he talks about in there, because he was a photojournalist, combat photojournalist, and he wound up with symptoms of PTSD. And what he talked about in the studying that he's done is that, soldiers are overseas. They're part of a unit, right? They're units working together. There's clear instructions. It seems like you're generally moving towards a goal, right, as a team. When you come back here to the United States, right, that's not happening, and we seem to be about the most fractured as we've ever been as a country, it seems. And so you go from that environment to this environment, and it can actually accelerate, if not cause, some of the PTSD symptoms in and of itself. And then beyond that, he said one thing that they think would actually really help is if we set aside one day, potentially Veterans Day, to where we open up community centers and we let veterans go and in front of everybody say whatever they want, right? No consequences. You can say the most, whatever you need to say to get off your chest, and that being able to do that can actually help kind of right those problems.
Right. Junger's book, Tribe, it's kind of a history of modern civilization, really, at its core. And basically that tribe can take on many things. It doesn't have to be a race of people or anything like that, but it can be your unit. And even within that, Junger talks to a lot of veterans, and they talk about being in war, and that you're not in the heat of a firefight, you're not thinking, I'm doing this for the good of the country. You're thinking, I'm protecting this guy right next to me, and he's protecting me, and like that's the immediate thing. And so many veterans, when they get back, they lose that connection with a unit, a group, a tribe, whatever it may be. Interesting enough, the other kind of interesting piece of data that comes out of that book is he talks about warrior cultures, and how I believe it was during Vietnam, Native Americans did not experience PTSD.
Yeah.
And basically, through a lot of research, they kind of figured out that even though, on the whole, as a culture, this country hasn't been very nice to Native Americans. It didn't make sense that they would go off to war to fight for a country that wasn't always the fairest to them. But for a lot of young Native Americans, this was the first real war of their generation that they could go off and prove their manhood. So they kind of went into war with a completely different mindset. I think what the military has learned now is that we live in this fractured culture where everybody seems to have something wrong with them, whether it's perceived or labeled. And so a lot of the recruits for the military that they're getting now may in fact be actually damaged goods before they go in to basic training and stuff like that. Chris, you could probably speak more on that. But the quality of a recruit nowadays isn't as good, tough, whatever you want to call it, as they were 15, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. In fact, isn't this the first time that they've had to lower the physical fitness requirements for the military because they couldn't meet their recruiting quota?
Yeah, I've heard that less than 50% of the population could actually, of like graduating seniors, could actually qualify like to even be considered for the military is what I've heard.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I wouldn't want to be in a recruiter or a drill sergeant's shoes nowadays. No.
Another piece of information that I've heard, I believe the researcher's name is Jane McGonigal. I know her last name is McGonigal. There's a couple of them, and I'm not sure. But anyway, she actually studies how games can help in different situations, and they've found that, strangely enough, with PTSD, if you play Tetris for 20 minutes within 24 hours of experiencing an event you think may cause PTSD, it can actually greatly reduce, if not completely eliminate. And they think that might actually be within a week. So if you play Tetris for 20 minutes within a week of experiencing something that you think might cause PTSD, it can help really lessen those effects.
So is that just tasking your brain with a different thing?
She had an explanation for it. It's been a while since I've heard that. All I know is I put Tetris on my phone. I don't play it, but I figure if I ever see a little kid get hit by a car or anything that might really damage me internally, I've got that game and I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to make sure I play it. And who knows, how crazy would it be if that were the case, and we could have soldiers play Tetris every night before they go to bed and fix the problem.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, we're starting to run out of time, so I'm going to ask a couple more questions of Chris, and then we'll let him get out of here. So, obviously, you are still functioning and actually doing really well for yourself. You've got a kid on the way, right?
Two. Yeah.
Two twins. That's
Twins,
right.
that's
So you've
right.
got two. You've got Xander. One other.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, and then two on the way.
Yep.
Crazy.
Two twins.
And then, so yeah, now you're like a business executive and a precision rifle instructor, which that's one of the courses that I'm really looking forward to taking out here someday. So the transition, how did you end up coming to be a part of 88 Tactical, and what do your days look like these days?
Well, so as I got out of working for the State Department, as a designated marksman or a designated defensive marksman for them, I stopped by Mix, and I'm kind of like, I'm looking for a job, do you have any leads? And so Mix says, hey, I have a lot of clients that would be interested in firearms training. Would you be interested in training them? And I had thought about opening up my own business, doing firearms training and not only just firearms training, but reality-based firearms training. Okay, it's just going on the range and punching holes in paper, and that's about the equivalent to punching a heavy bag and then saying you're a boxer. You can punch that bag, you can look pretty damn good at it. As soon as somebody jumps in front of you and is actually punching you in the face back, then you don't look so pretty.
Yeah.
So same thing with firearms, with actual combat and two-way ranges. So I was really interested in that, so I started doing my research and see exactly what my competition would be in this area, in the Omaha market. And so I came across 88 Tactical. I started reading all the instructor bios, and I basically come back to Mick and say, hey, there's no way I can compete with these guys. I'd love to train guys, but these guys are freaking a level above me. So Mick goes, hey, you know what? He goes, I know the owner of that company. Do you want me to put you in contact with him? So I said, yeah. And so I met with him. He said, we actually have a long distance range, and we don't have anybody to teach long range rifle. Would you be interested in teaching for us? And you want to come do an interview? And so I did. So this was my first kind of real interview coming out of the military and working for the State Department. So I showed up in a suit, and I brought my freaking sniper data book. It shows all your range time on it, all your shots at the different distances, your hits, your misses, all this other stuff. And so I kind of brought my data book with me. I brought some of my recent recent qualifications and stuff, and certificates from different schools, and said, well, here's that, here's me, you know, if you guys, ball's in your court, what do you guys want to do? So they said, yeah, why don't you develop a couple classes for us? Why don't you teach them? So I taught for them, and I didn't even charge them for the first year. I figured I'd give them a year to fire me.
Yeah.
And so they didn't fire me, so I kept going with it, and then I started cross training in all the other classes and stuff that we do here. And 2016, we opened up this building here in Omaha, and a few months after that, they brought me on board, and since then, I've just kind of climbed up the ladder, and so now I'm the general manager of the place.
Kicking ass and taking names.
Mm-hmm.
Trying my best.
So when it comes to precision rifle, this is something I'm actually interested in, and hopefully can be moving towards a purchase later in 2019. But what are some of the big mistakes that you see people make when purchasing a precision rifle and optics and all that come along with that?
Really, I'd say that the number one biggest mistake I see almost all the time is people want to invest their money in gear and not in themselves, not in training. So, you know, I can, as I was telling the story the other day, my cousin-in-law wanted, you know, he has some money. He wanted this decked out Glock. He'd seen this really fancy YouTube shooter, you know, throwing aspirin up in the air, shooting this thing with his decked out Glock, and this and this and that. So he tells me, you know, hey, can you build this for me? You know, can you build one of these for me? I said, yeah, I can do that. You know, give me your credit card and I'll start ordering the parts. And so I did. So I made him this beautiful, freaking decked out, matched out Glock. You know, give it to him. Comes back and he says, well, how'd you like it? Well, it was all right. You know, just all right. Well, yeah, it was kind of hard to shoot. It wasn't as accurate as I thought it would be. I'm like, brother, that ain't the gun, you know. Yeah. Same thing, man. We can sit here and we can buy a $10,000 decked out rifle. It'll make you hit targets at distance better than if you didn't have a $10,000 rifle. However, in the end, it really comes down to your fundamentals, your understanding of applying the fundamentals, and then repetition.
Okay.
So when people come to my class, I really tell them, you know, they in the basic class, they ask me, hey, you know, I'm going to buy this gun. I'm going to buy this gun. What do you know? The most common question is, what scope should I buy? And that's a loaded question, you know. But they show up to the class, you know, asking about all this gear and stuff they want to buy, and I'm just, well, what do you have right now? If you have any type of rifle with an optic on it, with a magnified optic on it, and it's, you know, something halfway decent, just bring it to the class. We're going to not only work on making sure that rifle's set up for you, but we're going to go through all the fundamentals. We're going to clean up the fundamentals that you think you learned, and we're going to teach you the fundamentals that you haven't learned yet. We're going to make you understand the limitations of your equipment. Okay, you know, I'm going to shoot this big heavy bullet. That's fine, but don't think it's going to go 3 miles out there, because this thing's dropping like a rock. You have to understand, you know, the limitations of the equipment that you have. Once I teach you that, once I get you on the range, and you get some repetition in on it, you get some repetition adjusting your scope, if your scope is adjustable in this basic class, so on and so forth. You understand why you're not so accurate, as accurate as you want to be. Or you understand, okay, I'm this accurate, and you walk out of the class, with a group, 2-3 times smaller than what you started with, because it was all you that you had to fix. So in the basic class, I really tell people just kind of show up with a magnified optic, and we'll take it from there. We'll get you squared away. You'll understand once you move on to the next class. Usually between the basic and the intermediate class is where they start emailing me, okay, let's start working on your setup. Let's, now that I explained to you this is what you need to help you fix it.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, it's good to know. I mean, it's very similar in guitar, right? I know a lot of people that have $10,000 worth of guitar gear, but they can barely play 3 chords,
Yeah.
And, more power to them. They're keeping the guitar companies in business, and they're doing what they love. But yeah, it really comes down to training yourself, and I suppose that's the case in really anything that we're going to do. So, and then just kind of the last question, where we were talking about some pretty interesting things the other day. Where do you see precision rifle going in the future?
Man, it's going to be awesome. I'm kind of just getting into the competition side of things a little bit. Rob and I shot kind of our first little basic competition last month. It was really fun, and the truth of the matter is a lot of veterans, kind of poo-poo on competition shooters. It's not realistic. You're not utilizing cover. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And they're absolutely right. However, competition fine-tunes many skills that translate into a gunfight. So to say that there's no value in competition is absolutely ignorant, and I think we're starting to really understand that. And I think a lot of it is we poo-poo on it is because we're afraid of, here's this big bad Army sniper, and then I got my ass handed to me by some civilian dude, some 280-pound fat farmer, and it's like, brother, freaking learn constantly. Don't stop learning. So with the competition side of things, I mean, that has really driven the market, and really, I think what you're looking at in the future is scopes will kind of go from being pieces of magnified glass to actually just digital. They'll probably, as you get deeper into it, you have to dial your scope up or down for adjusting for the bullet drop and stuff like that. You have to range your target so you know how much your bullet is going to drop, and so I really view the biggest waves being made in scopes, and the scopes will simply take all that into account for you. You'll enter all the information. Okay, I'm going to be shooting this bullet. It'll take the temperature of the air in the equation. It'll take the density of the air into the equation. You put your crosshairs. Maybe you hit a button and it says, okay, that's what I'm going to shoot. It'll range it. It'll make the adjustment for you. All you got to do is squeeze the trigger. So I don't know if you. Chris Kyle's wife. There's a company, I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head right now, but they developed a sniper rifle where the scope and the rifle and the trigger, everything is kind of combined into one. It's like a supercomputer. So what it does is you put your crosshairs on whatever it is you want to hit. It does all these calculations for you. You squeeze the trigger, it will not fire the gun until those crosshairs are perfect right on that target.
Wow.
So they had, Chris Kyle's wife shoot against this other, I think special operations sniper, whether Navy SEAL sniper or Army. But anyway, she shot against him and she ended up beating him. It was kind of the story I heard. So I think even though that system is, I think it's like $20,000 or something like that. I mean, I think in 10 years you're going to see systems like that for $4,000, $5,000.
So what you're saying is I can just put off learning for 10 years and then I'll just be able to buy a rifle that'll do it for me.
Exactly. There you go. Well, it's like it's like a calculator. Man,
Yeah.
Why do longhand if you have a calculator? But you probably should learn how to do longhand.
Yeah. In case someday all that technology goes down and you have to go back to analog. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So we're going to hit. We already mentioned it once, but the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger. That's going to be our book of the week, and I'm actually going to read one more passage. I read this and it just blew my mind. Not so much about PTSD, but so listen to this. It says, this is from page 116 of Tribe by Sebastian Junger. It said, "It may be worth considering whether middle-class American life, for all its material good fortune, has lost some essential sense of unity that might otherwise discourage alienated men from turning apocalyptically violent. The last time the United States experienced that kind of unity was briefly after the terrorist attacks of September 11th. There were no rampage shootings for the next 2 years. The effect was particularly pronounced in New York City, where rates of violent crime, suicide, and psychiatric disturbances dropped immediately. In many countries, antisocial behavior is known to decline during wartime. New York's suicide rate dropped by around 20% in the 6 months following the attacks. The murder rate dropped by 40%, and pharmacists saw no increase in the number of first-time patients filling prescription for anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication. Furthermore, veterans who were being treated for PTSD at the VA experienced a significant drop in their symptoms in the months after the September 11 attacks." So basically what that's saying is struggle is good, and that's one of the things that I know both Mick and I are really big on, right? Martial arts training, that's a struggle, and we know that it's good for our bodies, we know it's good for our mind, and actually it could potentially be good for our country if our country would learn how to struggle again. So the book, once again, Tribe by Sebastian Junger. Go check it out. It's a really good read. So Mick has the workout of the week.
Yeah, so this workout of the week is one that I actually had done up for my wife. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's basically Wife 2.0, the new improved version for this year. SAF workout is my abbreviation for sexy as fuck. My wife is sexy as fuck. And this was day 2 of her workouts that I was going to be doing hopefully in 2019. Starts off with a 1,000-meter row on the rower, and then squats hugging a plate. Now, if you can't handle a 45-pound plate, whatever you can do, 25 pounds, 10, whatever it is. These are ass to grass squats, basically getting your ass down as low as you can, so long as you keep your back in a good position, don't let your head come out over your toes, all of that stuff. If you can't quite do that, squat down and bring your elbows to your knees is another good way to go through a full range of motion. Single arm kettlebell swings. On all of this stuff, also leave the reps up to you. You're only going to do the exercise one time as you go through this. So whatever you think is reasonable is reasonable. If you want to go to failure, you could absolutely do that, so long as your technique doesn't go to shit, because we're typically going to be working other body parts along the chain, so you will get some recovery. So 1,000-meter row, ass to grass squats, hugging a plate, single arm kettlebell swings, single leg, stiff leg kettlebell bends, which is basically a hamstring exercise. So you're standing on one leg with the kettlebell in your arm. So if you're holding the kettlebell in your right hand, your right foot will be on the ground and your left foot is in the air. And you bend at the waist forward until the kettlebell touches the ground, and then you raise back up. You try to keep on one leg the whole time. Okay. Again, the reps is up to you. A kneeling landmine press. So kneeling landmine press is you're going to be on your knees with preferably an Olympic bar, and you are pushing the bar upwards out from your body, from your chest, and you can add weight to the bar. Obviously, an Olympic bar is usually about 45 pounds, but you're welcome to add any weight that you feel is necessary. Again, go to where you feel like your technique is starting to deteriorate. Don't push it any more than that, and then move on to the next one. A bent over dumbbell row. These will be single arm bent over rows. So lean over a bench, kneel on it, let the much like the hamstring lift, you're going to have a dumbbell that's fully extended, the length of your arm, and then you'll pull your thumb upwards towards your armpit and then fully extend. Once you're tired with the one arm, switch to the other arm. Lat pull downs. Now, depending on what you have available to you, you can do these on cable, you could do them on a Smith machine, or some kind of cable lat pull down machine, anything like that. Then a wide grip upright row. So you'll be standing, your arms will go shoulder width apart, and you're lifting the bar from your hips straight up underneath your chin. The only thing I'll tell you is try to get your elbows higher than your wrists the whole time. And then finish with standing alternating curls. You can use dumbbells, and you can use the hammer curl variation or just a regular curl. So to repeat that, it's 1,000-meter row, squats hugging a plate, single arm kettlebell swing, single leg kettlebell hamstring lift, a kneeling landmine press, bent over dumbbell rows, lat pull downs, wide grip upright rows, and standing alternating curls. And you should be toast.
Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy. I'll have to, one more that I haven't done that I have to add to my week. So, well, Chris, thank you so much for coming out today and talking. And I think we got some really good information out there. And just looking forward to seeing what the business and you within the business do in the future. So thanks again for coming on.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure to check us out at thegentlemanbadass.com. On there, you can sign up for our mailing list. You can let us know what we're doing good, what we're doing bad. If there's anything you think we should cover, let us know. We're happy to know. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast, and then also subscribe on YouTube. We record these podcasts on video, so if you want to see our face as we're talking, go to YouTube. You can see it on there. And then also don't forget the bookshelf. Any of the books that we outline on the podcast, we will have on our page, thegentlemanbadass.com. So anything else, Nick?
Products.
So yeah, we do have some merch coming up. It's funny because I keep saying in the previous podcasts, I've said, pretty soon we'll have some merch up. Well, probably by the time all these podcasts come out, we'll have all the merch up. So we did add some hats, Gentleman Badass hats, to the store. So go check that out. I'm sure there's going to be more by the time that you're listening to this. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.